Good evening and welcome to Combat Blindness International's first ever virtual World Sight Day Gala. My name is Reena Chandra Rajpal and I'm the Executive Director of Combat Blindness International. On behalf of our Board of Directors and staff, I want to welcome you and thank you so much. We are so grateful that you could join us tonight. World Sight Day is an annual day of awareness to focus global attention on blindness and visual impairment around the world. Life as we know it has certainly changed because of this pandemic. I think we're all longing for the days that we can meet again. CBI itself has shifted gears in terms of thinking about how we help our patients and partners, and of course, connecting with all of you. But blindness continues to be a significant health issue throughout the world. And one thing that has not changed is Combat Blindness International's unwavering commitment to providing free eye care to men, women, and children around the world, and to empower women through education and professional development. For more than 3.5 decades, Combat Blindness International has screened more than 2.6 million patients. We've given sight to close to 370,000 men, women, and children in 17 countries and on 4 continents. Every day that I have been with Combat Blindness International, I am in awe of the compassion of its people and the impact of its work. So tonight we have a wonderful evening planned for you, which includes an inspiring and informative discussion with Bryan and Brad Manning, founders of Two Blind Brothers clothing line. Visually impaired since childhood, the Manning brothers are passionately committed to finding cures for blindness. We're also going to hear from YouTube star, author, and BBC contributor Lucy Edwards, who proves that vision loss doesn't have to hold you back. After losing her sight at 17, Lucy has blazed trails as a champion for disability rights and inspired others around the world. We are so grateful that they could join us and share their time to tell their story tonight. We're also hosting an online silent auction with the help of Handbid, our online platform. We have beautiful handcrafts from around the world, artwork, and some exciting experiences. There is literally something for everyone. So I invite you to view items and register to bid at combatblindness.org WSD20. You can also download Handbid, the Handbid app, and register and bid from your smartphone. So please register and bid often because 100% of our proceeds tonight go to direct patient care. So before we begin this evening's presentation, I would like to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors. We could not do this evening without you. A special shout out to our platinum sponsors, Paul Berkbigler Design and Multimedia, The Digital Ring, and Allegra. And to our gold sponsors, UW Health, Unity Point Health Meriter and Quartz, the Gialamas Company, and the Capital Group. I would also like to take this moment to thank all of our staff and volunteers for their hard work in putting together this event. Special thanks to my CBI team of Margaret Wolfgram and Bill Shepard. When we decided to go virtual and shift gears, they really just put everything into it, and they are truly the driving force behind tonight's event. So I want to thank you so much for your hard work. Tonight, I encourage you to join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can tag Combat Blindness. You can also use the hashtag World Sight Day, hashtag Hope in Sight. Please like, tweet, and share your pictures from tonight also. Finally, I'm excited to announce that thanks to our generous friends, the Herkman Family Foundation, in partnership with Herkman Mechanical Industries, all donations tonight will be doubled up to $50,000. So please give generously, knowing that not only will you double your impact, but your gift tonight can literally change a person's life overnight. So to start off this evening, I would like to welcome Combat Blindness International's founder, Dr. Suresh Chandra. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
So we have a lot of old friends joining us tonight, but we also have some new ones. Can you just take a moment and share why you started Combat Blindness International?
Well, I started Combat Blindness International because I wanted to give back. I spent years teaching high-tech retinal surgery, but I quickly realized that retinal problem was not the main cause of blindness. It is the cataract. And the cataract can be treated with a very little resources and in a short amount of time. There are 36 million people who are blind in the world. If we do nothing, the blindness will double to 70 million people. So we have to do something.
And we have, for 36 years, in addition to providing free cataract surgeries, we're also screening 15 to 20,000 children for glasses and eye diseases each year. We're also providing young women with education to become ophthalmic technicians. And I've said before, we've screened over 2.6 million people, and we've given sight to almost 370,000 men, women, and children. So, obviously the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the entire world. I'm very excited that our partners have really shown innovative leadership in adapting to COVID-19. For example, LV Prasad Eye Institute created a mobile diagnostic van to safely deliver free eye care to low-income residents of Odisha, India.
Yes, and Autolab has developed a shield on the front part of the indirect ophthalmoscope, providing low-cost protection to the patient as well as the doctor.
I've also been very impressed with the fact that so many of our partners have really helped within their countries to care for COVID patients. Our surgical center in Saranpur, which is north of Delhi, they pivoted, and their surgical center, the surgical center, became a field hospital for COVID patients during India's lockdown. So, you and I were very fortunate to be able to visit India and some of our partners before the pandemic and before lockdown. And I think I can speak for both of us when I say we were both very moved by the people we've met, but also very excited at the impact that CBI is having with our partners in helping so many in need. One of the young girls that I met in Gujarat, lovely young woman, and she was blind, developed cataracts in both eyes, and she was supposed to get married, but her engagement got broken because of the cataracts, and she was seen as flawed. But what impressed me most was the fact that she didn't give up. She went back to school, she's in college now, and she's studying business.
And I was very impressed with the pediatric program at Usha Kiran Eye Hospital in Mysore. A child's visual system develops by the age of 6. And if we do nothing to treat their problem, then the blindness becomes permanent.
If we can fix that, then they can go back to school.
If we can fix it, then they can go back to school and continue to learn and thrive. Mm-hmm. At Usha Kiran, they have a wonderful group of volunteers that help coordinate all the screening and follow-up. I think this incredible relationship with the community helps make this program a success.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And at the tail end of our trip, we were able to go and visit our partner, Dr. Shroff's Charity Eye Hospital in Delhi, and our COPS, or our certified ophthalmic paramedic students. There we met Ikra. Ikra has overcome so many challenges. Her mother unfortunately had passed away. Her father was an alcoholic, And we found out later on that she is a cancer survivor. But she was so determined that she wanted to do something where she could help people. And fortunately, she's enrolled in the COPS program and is thriving. We also found out she's become somewhat of an adoptive daughter at Shiraz, and she is developing professional skills and well on her way to becoming financially independent, not only for herself, but to help her family as well. So I think that, despite, all of these challenges, we're still planning future projects. What I'm really excited about is restarting a project in Nairobi, Kenya with the Lion's Eye Hospital.
We are also planning a new project in Paraguay to screen all the children in the country. Our hope is that to create a national program in Paraguay so that all children receive the eye care.
Absolutely. And we're also planning on expanding our programs in India, as well as right here in Madison, Wisconsin, our hometown. So I hope this gives you a little glimpse into CBI, our impact, our future goals, but more importantly, the people that we serve. At Combat Blindness International, it has always been our goal to serve with compassion, to ensure that all people get equitable eye care that empower them to live their best lives. Throughout the evening, you're going to hear patient stories and testimonials from friends and supporters of CBI embodying these principles. I hope that they make you think, and I hope that they inspire you. Thank you, Dad, for joining us.
Thank you.
There are no limits when it comes to compassion for people and taking care of them. You kind of push away those barriers, and it's just another person that you want to help, no matter where they live or where they come from. CBI just does an amazing job of seeing people in their communities and what they need to do to help them thrive.
As a parent to 2 young children, I imagine what it's like for these parents in parts of the world that don't have access to this level of care and these opportunities. And for an organization like Combat Blindness to come in there, make a superhero effort of transforming their lives, setting these children on a path to education and personal satisfaction and empowerment. As a parent, that would be everything to me, would mean everything to me.
So you too can put your compassion into action tonight by supporting Combat Blindness International. Show you care by clicking that donate button on your screen. As I said before, all donations tonight will be matched up to $50,000, and 100% of the proceeds will go directly to patient care. I hope you're having fun bidding on our silent auction items. You can register online or via the HandBid app, and keep bidding. Share what you see tonight with your friends and family. We need you to spread the word about CBI so that we can all compassionately care for some of the most vulnerable men, women, and children in the world. So now I'm super excited to share with you my interview with Bryan and Brad Manning, founders of Two Blind Brothers clothing line. The Manning brothers have been visually impaired since childhood, but they are passionately committed to supporting research that works to find a cure for blindness. Take a look.
Brad and I have been at the same bar and not known each other was there for an hour just because we couldn't see 10 feet away to know.
But then I hear his voice and it stands out pretty well. Bryan and I have a disease called Stargardt's disease. It's a form of macular degeneration. The way Stargardt's works is it affects your central vision, and your peripheral vision is usually held intact.
For Two Blind Brothers, as you can imagine, look and feel are two very different things to us. We wanted these shirts to be as comfortable, as fantastic to wear. I don't wear anything else at this point.
We've created this clothing company to raise awareness and bring funds to this cause. We take no salaries out of the company. We let all proceeds drop to medical research to cure these diseases.
What Brad and I want to do with this company is give you somebody to look up to, give you somebody to talk to. I've had a brother my whole life who can help me get through my problems. I know things are possible because he's accomplished them. How do you read a menu every day? And he'll tell me, oh, I take a picture on my iPhone and then I zoom in on it. Should I play this sport? And he said, yeah, the worst comes to worst, you're just bad at it. And then you go do something else, and that happened a lot.
We've taken all of our network, our experts in design, in production, in fabric, to create what we think is the perfect shirt. We are on the cusp of gene therapies and stem cell therapies that are going to revolutionize medicine. Not just in eye disease, it's already happening. Right now, it's not a question of the science, it's a question of the funds to get through these clinical trials and to get research to commercialization opportunities.
Brad and Bryan, thank you so much for being part of Combat Blindness International's virtual World Sight Day event online.
Well, we're so thrilled to be here, and thank you so much for having us.
So we are really honored that you could join us. So let's get started. I just think the story of your clothing company, Two Blind Brothers, is so interesting, and it has its roots in your childhood. Tell us about when you both learned that you had the condition called Stargardt's disease. Did I pronounce it right?
You did. And this is Brad. I'm the older brother. And so my experience came about 5 years before Bryan. When I was 5 years old, I failed the kindergarten eye chart. And up till that point, I don't think that my parents knew that I had a condition. And, the way Stargardt's works is it's a form of macular degeneration. So I think for the most part, that degeneration hadn't really started. And so after that, my mom took me to a series of doctors. And we ended up, after sort of a year and a half, walking into this doctor's office. I remember they needed to dye my blood. I forget how you say it, like the flangioangiogram or whatever it is. I probably butchered that, but it dyes your blood. And then they could see the scar tissue on my retina. And that's when they knew I had Stargardt's disease. And I remember at that moment that my mom basically shrunk because the doctor said that, this was an incurable eye disease. It degenerates over time. They didn't know how dramatic it would be or how fast it would be. You should really go talk to a blind and visually impaired, orientation and mobility specialist and get some magnifiers and learn Braille and best of luck. And, that moment really started what Bryan and I consider one of our greatest gifts, which was our parents' perspective and our parents' attitude towards this, because we got in the car after that appointment and I was so young, I didn't really know how to interpret it. I was 7 years old at that time. And my mom looked at me and said, F this. And I, and she goes, let's go get some ice cream and rent a movie. And so we went to Friendly's, the ice cream shop. And that's, for a long time, that's what I thought F this actually meant. And then we went to Blockbuster, and I just remember eating ice cream, watching Air Bud, the movie about the dog that could shoot 3-pointers, thinking that this was like the best day ever.
That's amazing. I mean, you have to give parents a lot of credit. That's beautiful that she saw it as not something negative, but something positive. So fast forward, it's May 2016, and you founded Two Blind Brothers. How did this come about?
Yeah, so you have to go back a little before May because we launched in May, but probably about 6 months earlier, Brad and I were walking around New York City and we went into a Bloomingdale's. Brad said I dressed terribly, and so I needed to update my wardrobe or he wouldn't hang out with me anymore. I think that was his exact wording. The love of an older brother is timeless and endless. But so we walk into this Bloomingdale's, and if you've ever been shopping with somebody who's visually impaired, or if you're visually impaired yourself, it's a huge nightmare. You basically walk around, and when you have to take a picture of a label to figure out if the shirt is the right size, if it's the right color, if it's a brand or the price point you want. So what we do is we walk around and feel everything like we're 5 years old. And on this fateful day, Brad and I lost each other in the store, and we walked out probably about 45 minutes later with the exact same shirt. And after kind of laughing and playing some rock, paper, scissors to see who had to return it, because at that time, we can't dress alike. We're not, you don't want to look like twins. I don't want to look like Brad in any situation. But we end up but then we had this kind of lightning bolt moment that we could make very soft clothing because we had this diligence to touch, because the reason we bought that shirt is it was so incredibly soft and comfortable that we were willing to do the research to find out if we actually wanted it. So that was part one. And part two was that there was a drug that was coming through clinical trials at that moment for a disease called Leber congenital amaurosis, which basically takes kids who have been diagnosed with LCA, this disease. They go blind by the age of 5 or 6. But if they get this drug at any point, if they have this specific gene mutation, they have sight again. They go from reading Braille to reading text. And we've met some families that have been the beneficiary of this drug, and it is miraculous that these kids, basically the lights flip back on. It's truly almost magic. And so Brad and I were talking about how exciting this was and how, the research was really coming to fruition. And we had bought this super soft shirt, and we said, well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe we can start a clothing company where we focus on making the softest shirts in the world. And then we give 100% of the profits back to these early stage retinal researchers to try and help accelerate this process for a cure, as well as build as much awareness as we can around this idea of visual impairment. And we started with lowly aspirations. I think we had some friends that worked in the industry, so they helped us find a manufacturer and helped us source our fabrics. And make the long story short, we made about 200 shirts, and we're like, this will probably cover us for the entire life of the business.
You've taken something that might be perceived as a barrier and turned it into a strength that is incredibly empowering for you and for others. In many ways, Combat Blindness International, we also look at this idea of empowering others. You're talking about you as a child and being able to have that strength to talk to your teacher and because you had the support around you that's empowered you to do so. You know, in our work, we really try to empower others, especially those that are, economically challenged. Um, do you see yourselves as empowering other people to rise to new challenges? For example, finding a cure for blindness or overcoming other types of barriers. Um, I know one of the things I read about you is that the people that work in your factory are on the blindness spectrum.
I'll never forget the first time that all this dawned on us was a man who lived like 45 miles outside of Albuquerque. He had been visually impaired his whole life. He had basically, he said to us that he had isolated himself from so many people because he was kind of ashamed of his visual impairment. But then when he went and saw our video and saw the hundreds of comments of people like him, it motivated him to reach out to the kind of local groups that for visually impaired people around him, that he had gone to a few meetings and that he was actually putting himself out there again. And when you get that kind of message on just a project, you realize that you have a much larger responsibility than just making shirts. Brad and I, for better or for worse, had to be as the best champions for this community as we possibly could be.
So one of the things that we talk about at Combat Blindness is that we really are trying to level the playing field for people who can't afford or don't have access to eye care. A core mission of ours is, as I mentioned before, equity. By giving 100% of your profits to research, researching cures for blindness, you're making the world a more equitable place, aren't you?
In terms of leveling the playing field, one of the things that gets us very fired up is the fact that because of the attention, we'll get these messages from families or individuals. And it's interesting because it's almost like Bryan and I get to kind of peer back in time to when we were first diagnosed and to see how important it was for us to have the parents, the resources, the vision teachers, the technology around us that let us become who we are today. And the fact that we live in an age where technology and those resources are constantly leveling the playing field. It's our big contention, and it's a real personal mission of ours to explain to people that you cannot let blindness or vision impairment become a psychological impairment. What we are just big proponents of is understanding that there are challenges in life, but your great purpose can be embracing those challenges and fighting for an even better future. And that's one of the obvious overlaps with what you guys embrace.
Yeah, we've really tried to look at the idea that, people in the US or other high income countries have those resources, but people in places, rural communities in India or Africa or South America don't always have those resources. There aren't really disability or schools for the blind or other resources. And so we really hope that the work that we do sets someone on a path where they can go back to work, go back to school, and achieve those dreams that they have for themselves.
Yeah, I want to touch on one thing.
Yeah,
Or you just reminded me of something.
yeah.
I had the chance to go to India, and I was talking to we were doing sort of a small interview. I was on there for a vacation, but we were doing kind of an interview on the Two Blind Brothers project. And Bryan and I and a lot of us here, we have such a skewed perspective because it is such a different problem in different countries. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting that the Indian reporter was saying is they were saying that India has a third of all the world's blind.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really asking a lot of questions about why my brother and I would name our company Two Blind Brothers and put ourselves out there as individuals who have visual and challenges, because in India, and at least from her perspective, that was probably one of the worst ways you could possibly brand yourself, period. And it was kind of a wake up call. It was really kind of perspective shifting, because it just reminds you that a lot of the world is not as fortunate as we are, and a lot of people with vision challenges in those places aren't as fortunate as we are.
Absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, it's why we do what we do, so that we can help whoever we can help, and move the needle forward in terms of curing blindness, avoidable blindness, and doing research so that we have these new cures for blindness. So, I'm just amazed at the this appeal that this company has. And did how does it feel knowing that every time someone buys your a shirt or a piece of clothing or whatever it might be, that you're helping make a difference in someone's life or towards a cure?
When you say it that way, it feels a lot better, because when I think about shirts being sold, I'm like, oh God, do we have enough buttons? Like, did we place the button order? And that's, it's funny how quickly you get absorbed into the minutia of the work rather than the grand goal. But, it's to answer your question, there's always you get those moments of elation, and Brad and I try to take as much time as we can to, and I think a lot of people forget to do this, to take moments to be grateful and proud and happy of the accomplishments as you set goals for the future. And, we have these moments where we get to, high five, and we get to make a big donation to the foundation fighting blindness, or when we get to talk to a Perkins School for the Blind, or do a great, podcast interview, or be able to directly impact people's lives. Because as Brad said earlier, research is so amorphic that sometimes it's hard to get super jazzed up about something that'll come to fruition in 15 years. But when you get to talk to a kid, and, a young visually impaired kid, as Brad said, go back in time for a minute and give them some advice and get them excited about being visually impaired, that's the best day that you can have. That's when it's really super rewarding. And, I know when we've, from, being able to actually like see a shirt on a person I don't know, was maybe like the happiest day of the Two Blind Brothers project. I was eating barbecue in Austin, Texas, and this guy probably thought I was a psycho because I came running up covered in sauce and grease. And he's like, okay, my wife got me the shirt. You don't need to take the picture. I was like, we have to do this. But those moments are always great, but it's really when you get to connect with somebody one-on-one that it really feels super special.
So before we finish up, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
I actually have one thing in reference to what you just said. I'm going to overcut Brad, hopefully to take what he was going to say. No, but
well, what Bryan is about to say is going to be the most profound thing I've ever heard. It's going to knock you out of your seat. I can already tell.
Everyone, please sit down, because I don't want any fainting head injuries after this knowledge is laid upon you. No, to what you just said about social entrepreneurship and the interests, I always love highlighting this to people. Brad and I started this business with 200 shirts in a video by a Starbucks barista, with no grand aspirations. We didn't mortgage our house. We didn't we didn't burn the ships, as they sometimes say. It's very possible, if you have a passion and you have something that you truly care about and a cause that you want to give back to, you can start that business pretty easily. and it's going to be a ton of work. It may not be successful. It may not work at all. But if Brad and I's story can inspire 1,000 other two blind brothers for any number of diseases or whatever people care most about, that's when our business actually will deem it very successful, because we can do everything we can to give back to vision impairment, but there's so many causes. And if we can create that multiplicative effect by the person listening right now going and saying, I'm actually going to take a crack at this, then that's when we've really, truly won. And we just want everyone who has that passion, who has that care, who really believes, to go out and at least try, because you can make a giant difference and it can work like it did for Brad and I.
I think one of the incredible things that, Combat Blindness International has are the narratives of the people that you're helping. And I think when someone hears a story about somebody who had no resources, no vision, and no hope in a country that is maybe has less resources than this one, and you go in with an affordable, safe, quick procedure and give them their eyesight back, that lets them see their kids, get employed, rejoin society in some cases. Not only them, but the person who was responsible for caretaking for them. I mean, there are real deep emotional and powerful stories in there. And, just encouraging, you guys to continue to share those. And that is what we find lets us grow these communities, is by lifting up those stories that really speak to us. There's a great quote, the more personal, the more universal. Mm-hmm. And you all have a great asset, which are the incredible lives that you've helped facilitate.
Well, thank you so much, Bryan and Brad. We're just so grateful. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and for you making such a big difference in people's lives through your company, Two Blind Brothers. So I want to let everyone know, please check out twoblindbrothers.com. Their clothes are beautiful, soft, amazing, and they're actually quite stylish too. So, and again, 100% of their profits go to, of your purchase will go towards funding blindness research. So thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for tuning in, everybody at home.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for dealing with Bryan.
Way to end it on a high note, brother.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much again to the Manning brothers for joining us. Providing equitable access to quality eye care, the same standard of care that you would receive in a higher income country, is at the core of what CBI does, as you will see.
When we are talking about leveling the playing field, we have to ask ourselves a really tough question, which is, do you matter? Does this person's quality of life matter? The way I look at this is that the people we are working with in these remote villages and so on, by just giving back their eyesight, we can completely change the quality of life for them, their future, and their family's future. And it really, really is important for us to understand that all the people here, in some ways, they have some kind of a contribution to make to their community and their families.
So one of the things that I really value about Combat Blindness and our mission is that we are bringing care to people where they are and at the levels that they need. We're serving underserved populations in rural communities around the world, primarily in India and Africa, where there are individuals who have never had the opportunity to receive these treatments. Individuals of all ages, from children to great-grandparents, men and women, boys and girls, people who didn't even know that these opportunities would exist for them, and we're able to provide that for everybody.
So you too can help some of the most vulnerable men, women, and children have equitable access to quality eye care. As I mentioned again, all donations tonight will be matched up to $50,000, and 100% of the proceeds will go to direct patient care. I hope you are having a great time bidding on our silent auction. I wanted to take a moment and share with you a couple items that I think you should definitely check out. We're so fortunate that two blind brothers have donated two incredible packages for us. The first is what we're calling our silver package, and that includes a $200 gift card, some sunglasses, some Cavalier sunglasses that have 100% UV protection, and a bundle of their socks. I don't know if you've ever been on, and I encourage you to go on to the Two Blind Brothers website. Their t-shirts and clothing are incredible. They are so soft. You should definitely go check it out. The other bundle is they're what we're calling our gold package. And that is a $300 gift card, a backpack, and again, a bundle of their really soft, wonderful socks. So have fun bidding, bid often. You can register online or via the HandBid app and keep bidding. Again, also please share with your friends and your family what you've seen tonight. Please spread the word about CBI so that we can all ensure equitable eye care to so many in need. Now, I've been asked, we've been getting some questions from the audience, and I've been asked a bunch of questions. One question I want to address is for cataract surgery, for $25, you can give someone their eyesight back. That supports a free cataract surgery. How can that be? Well, that $25 will not only provide, it not only pays for the during the operation and post-operation consumables, medication, and the actual intraocular lens that goes into the eye, but it also pays for the transportation, their stay at the hospital, and food for that patient while they're in the hospital. Yes, $25. So imagine for a week's worth of Starbucks, you are literally changing someone's life overnight. So I'm really excited to take a moment to introduce you to our next speaker, Lucy Edwards. And I'm also very grateful to our board member, Wendy Dwyer, who shared her time to speak with Lucy. Lucy is an engaging BBC broadcaster and YouTube star and author who proves that vision loss doesn't hold you back. She lost her sight at the age of 17, but Lucy has blazed trails as a champion of disability rights, inspiring others around the world. Take a look.
Hi, Lucy Edwards, and thank you for joining us today. We're at Combat Blindness International's virtual World Sight Day event, and we're so glad that you're... Thank you for joining us.
Oh, no, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's begin with our interview. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and how it changed when you're 11 years old and then again at 17?
Yeah, so a little bit about me. My name's Lucy Edwards. I'm 24. I am from the United Kingdom. I'm actually originally from Birmingham, which is our second biggest city. But I currently live in Milton Keynes, which is only about a 40-minute train ride outside of London because I go into London for work. I'm a freelance BBC broadcaster. I'm also a YouTuber and now of late a TikToker. I talk about everything blindness, activism. I present varying different things from BBC Click, which is a technology show, all the way to BBC Radio 1. I was the first ever blind presenter on there back in December last year. So yeah, I'm a bits and bobs type of girl. I lost my eyesight at age 17 completely, as you quite rightly said, but that whole journey was crazy for me, the whole sight loss journey. At age 8, my mom took me for a routine eye check, and the ophthalmologist there basically said to her, "Oh, unfortunately, Mrs. Edwards, your daughter has really poorly eyes at the back there." And my mom was like, "What?" You know, it really took her aback. She was only taking me and my sister after school. Just, I think she bribed us with some chocolate, like, "Come on, you can you can come to your eye appointment." Anyway, uh, and then that began this journey into what is my eye condition, which is called incontinenti pigmenti, which is a rare genetic condition passed down on the female line of my genetics. Basically, it just means that the back of my eyes bleed, and eventually it caused retinal detachment. But through age 11 to 17, my vision was just getting worse and worse. And at age 11, I lost my right eye. And yet eventually at 17, it just popped off. And yeah, we've gone from there really with my journey of complete blindness. So yeah, that's me.
Wow. Okay, that it had a bit, I mean, that's just incredible to lose your sight at such a young age. What helped you prevail in so many positive ways? Because it's just incredible what you've done with this challenge and through this challenge. And can you help us understand that? How were you able to prevail so well?
Yeah, I think, well, when I first lost my eyesight and I was in the hospital bed, I was with my auntie and my mom. My dad was looking after my sister and my younger sister at home, taking her to school and whatnot. And they were sort of back at the homestead. And my auntie was sitting by my hospital bed with my mom, and she said, "Look, this is not the end of Lucy Edwards." And at the time, I did not believe her at all. It was even quite a poignant moment where my consultant that I've had since I was such a young girl at Moorfields Eye Hospital in London came to my bedside and said, "Look, Lucy, we always hoped it wouldn't come to this." And he was retiring that day. And I think going from the lowest point ever of my life and thinking, wow, how am I ever going to come back from, just having my eyesight 1 minute and having an operation, they're trying to save it and not. I think I just thought to myself, tomorrow, the next day, the weeks coming can't be worse than this. Nothing can be worse than this. And, I think that drove me forward, because I just thought I could either sink or swim here. And yeah, I did sink for a bit. There was times where I ate Ben and Jerry's in my pajamas. I had bad mental health days, and yes, I did suffer with depression and things through the trauma of my loss of sight, because I was so young. But I think what drives me forward is the belief that sight loss is not the end of Lucy Edwards. I'm blind, I'm not broken, and I want to prove to people that is the case, because I think so many people don't necessarily, they think disability disables you, and what disables me is the world around me. I really do believe in the social model of disability, and that's what I want to show you people, that it's not me that's wrong, it's not me that's broken. I need to show people that if they had different access requirements or changed, their thought processes somewhat, then, I would be seen as equal and I wouldn't be disabled by my environment. So that's what drives me forward. And I just love being an advocate and a presenter. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. Your words are water to my soul. I just thank you for saying that in a way that makes it so understandable to other people. I can't say enough good things. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you and so glad that you prevailed, because we need you in this world like this.
Thank you so much. You're going to make me cry too. Oh no, honestly, I think it's just what we all need to hear, even on our bad blind days. I can't always be this peppy, but I can always be online, sort of being like, "Hi, we're here too."
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, that is just wonderful. And also, I was just wondering, I mean, your videos resonate so much with me and so many other people. Why do you have an understanding of why they do or how they do? I mean, they're just amazing the way you connect and explain and help advocate for all of us with disabilities. And I just wonder, do you have a sense of why they resonate so well with so many people?
I think when you talk to someone on a human to human level, and that's what I try to do, I try and treat the camera as, the person who's watching. I think when you do that and explain yourself and really just sort of, tell someone about your life and who you are, I think then, they look at the person and not necessarily the impairment. And I think that's what breaks down barriers. I think that's why people maybe resonate with my channel a bit, because yes, I have overcome something, but I don't think it's about necessarily always overcoming it. It's about living life for what it is now and not dwelling on what we don't have.
That's just, yes.
Yeah.
All of that. Oh, you're just amazing. Yes.
All of it.
I love it. So you've had a pretty exciting, life so far. There's so much you're going to be accomplishing in your life. And I was just looking over that you've worked with celebrities and, you've in charities, and that you're the first blind presenter on BBC Radio 1. And I'm wondering, so far, what is the experience that stands out most to you? What has seemed like the most significant or memorable or favorite experience that you've had so far?
Yeah, and I think you touched on it really. Like, I think the most memorable experience for me was last year at BBC Radio 1. I think having that title as the first ever blind BBC Radio 1 presenter, it was so nerve-wracking, but so amazing. I think every part of my being was like, wow, I am representing our community. I'm doing something here that has never been done before. When I first lost my eyesight, I think, that's what was always in the back of my mind, that radio is so accessible to a blind audience and we can truly immerse ourselves in every part of the art. And I think that's why I love it so much. I think that's why it was so amazing for me to do. And also now just working with BBC engineers, hopefully in the coming months to years, making, one of the London studios accessible to visually impaired people. That's what I'm striving for next. And hopefully we can get 3, 4, even 5 studios completely accessible. And my aim is just to go further with things, really. Yeah.
So I wanted to share with you, combat blindness is so one of our goals at Combat Blindness International is to empower people, especially people the sight loss community. And I know that's a big part of your mission as well with the Disability Changemakers on your website. And I'm wondering if you could tell a little bit more about Disability Changemakers.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you. I think this is why I loved and jumped at the chance to do this interview, because I think combat blindness and myself really do align together. We have the same mission to empower blind people and say, this isn't the end of us. And I think with that section of my website, it really started because I did a speech this year for BAFTA Changemakers. And what I said in that speech was, we do need more representation. And it comes from the ground up. It comes from us all collaborating as a community, which we need more of. We need more blind people saying, right, we're banding together here, and no, it's not acceptable. We are valuable. It's really showing the children and youth of today, right, I can do that. If we prove to a young blind child watching the television and they're seeing themselves finally represented on children's media, I think that will be the true point where that child then says to their mom, oh, mommy, I can do that. And I just wanted to start my own section of my website, hold people accountable and say, look, it's not just up to us as blind people. And I just wanted a place where someone can fill out a form and say, hey, Lucy, I'm doing this, that, the other. And I just love to hear about those stories in the hope that I eventually do turn it into a movement of some sort. And I think also the work by Caroline Casey at the Valuable 500, she's doing some amazing bits. She's holding people accountable. So it's just really echoing my counterparts and showing that it can be done. And yeah, I'll have to update you on how it all goes and whether I can get a focus group together.
Oh, that it would be awesome. Definitely keep us updated, and hopefully with this interview, people will be connecting with you through there to be adding to, engaging with that process, because that's a really wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I also, you've already answered this question about breaking down barriers. I mean, your whole life is breaking down barriers, and that's a part of what we do at Combat Blindness International, is that we're really helping people to break down barriers caused by sight loss. And is there, I would really love to know, what is a piece of advice that you'd like to share with people that you might not, you've shared so much wisdom and so many ideas and have really broadened our understanding today, but is there anything that any bit of advice that you'd like to share that wasn't covered today?
Yeah, so I would say to those who maybe, I'm talking to the little Lucies who have just lost their eyesight and don't know what to do and are struggling with their mental health. I want to say that you are valued, you are valuable. You just need to find your voice, and whatever that voice is, you don't have to necessarily be, an activist or campaigner. Just follow your dream, do what you love, because at the end of the day, we can't control our sight loss necessarily. I certainly couldn't, but what you can control is what happens after it, and what you can make of it. And you are brilliant, that it doesn't define you, this loss of eyesight. You can do something with it and you can be amazing. There is so much technology out there at your fingertips. There are blind developers, medical personnel, we're in teachers, whatever you can think of the profession, whatever profession you can think of, we are in it. And I think, we're not going to be air pilots or taxi drivers, but you can pretty much do anything these days with a visual impairment. And it's just to say you can do it, and having the confidence to say you can, and no matter who tells you that you can't, you really can. You honestly can. And it's going to be really hard sometimes, because there are going to be hurdles in your way, more than most people, and there are going to be days that maybe you get discriminated against, and that's not cool. But the more you can battle through, it will be the making of you, and I can promise you that.
So I just have to laugh and cry at the same time, because you're talking to the little Lucies, and I'm more than twice your age, and I feel like I'm one of the little Lucies that you're talking to, because I'm losing my sight. And so thank you.
Yeah.
I just can't even tell you. I just you're thinking of a child, but like all of us who are in the process of losing our sight are sort of learning, like children, how to live differently. And so thank you so much.
Yeah.
I cannot thank you enough. And thank you so much for being here with us. Our mission with Combat Blindness International is to help restore sight wherever we can, around the world. But we're also so committed to helping people live their best life, with sight loss. And so thank you. You just helped me live my life better as a person with sight loss. So just that, in your talk to I'll just be little Lucy today. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's where because I think I always think back to, me not really knowing where to go with my sight loss journey, because I was so young. But you're quite right. I think what a really great analogy is that I have only been blind for 7 years. So really, with my tactile language, Braille and my screen reader, really, I'm only 7 years old. So we shouldn't beat ourselves up for not knowing something straight away, or not being able to navigate with our cane straight away, because we're just learning and we're not going to have all the answers. And I think that's really great to just sort of admit at the start. And I think Combat International, I love what you guys are doing. The fact that most eye diseases are curable, I think, it blows my mind and baffles me that technology and medical developments are out there and people aren't able to get to them. But with what you guys are doing, you're changing lives. And yeah, I love that you're giving people a voice. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. We so appreciate your support and your wisdom and helping us forward our mission. So thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you.
A huge thank you to Lucy Edwards for joining us tonight for this program and using your voice to empower others. You too can empower someone by supporting CBI. Click the donate button on your screen to give to children, parents, and grandparents, to give them vital eye care. So, as I said, all donations tonight will be matched up to $50,000, and 100% of the proceeds will go directly to patient care. So again, I want to take a minute to highlight some items in our silent auction. I hope you're having a great time bidding on these items. The two items I want to feature are, one is this genuine Maasai beaded necklace from Africa. And this was donated by one of our wonderful supporters. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece. The colors are gorgeous. And it would just, make a lovely piece of artwork in your home. The other item is this lovely cotton woven runner with 6 placemats. We were so lucky to be able to source this from a group called Serve International. They are an organization that helps artisans in different countries sell their wares and become financially independent. So we're very proud to offer this beautiful runner with the 6 placemats. So please, I hope you bid on them. Keep bidding and keep having fun with the silent auction. And also, please continue to share what you've seen tonight with your friends and family. For decades, CBI has empowered people through the gift of sight. As you will hear in the next segment, your support will empower people to return to work, to school, and become productive members of their family and community.
So with one cataract surgery, just for one person, for $25, that affects the entire family, and not just that year, but so many years to come. And the education they can get, the education they can give to their children, grandchildren, it just continues on. So $25 to affect an entire family is mind-boggling. It's amazing. I mean, what a gift to give someone.
Investing in women makes a huge impact on the quality of life, not only for their family, but for their community and society and the world. I think it's wonderful that Combat Blindness is making sure that the least served population, which is women around the world, are being invested in, and because those investments
improve the lives of so many other people.
So it's amazing how one small act of kindness can empower and change someone's life forever. I'm excited to introduce Vice Chairman of Combat Blindness and our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Peter Holm. Peter, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. You have been involved with CBI for almost 20 years, and as a board member, you've taken a leadership role in overseeing our projects. Can you talk to us about why CBI has come to mean so much to you?
Introduction, and thank you all to everyone who has joined us on our virtual World Sight Day. Your virtual presence here just speaks volumes for who you are. The previous speakers, the board of directors, have talked about the Combat Blindness International mission, and Lucy Edwards and the two blind brothers have expressed their mission, and it's just amazing. I've worked with other organizations to deliver eye care to underserved people around the world, but what attracted me to Combat Blindness International was its multifaceted approach to the treating of preventable blindness. CBI not only supports cataract surgery, but it also helps screen patients for eye problems. It helps to build clinics and hospitals. It does a large amount of pediatric screening for vision. And it helped to form an IOL factory, which is an intraocular lens factory, several decades ago, which, when it was first started, produced 1,700 lenses or less the first year, and now produce millions. These intraocular lenses, which cost hundreds of dollars in the United States, are produced for about $2 to $3 because this factory was created and because of the generosity of Aura Lab towards organizations like CBI and others. The other thing that Combat Blindness has done, and it's really one of the most remarkable things that it's done, is what Wendy was talking about, which was through the COP program to educate and empower young women in India to rise from poverty in rural areas to become providers and healthcare providers for those around them. As an eye surgeon, I've had the privilege to travel with other surgeons with Combat Blindness International to perform free cataract surgeries in India and Myanmar. I've seen patients who could only see blurry images, or sometimes only light and dark, act so happy or so astonished, or bring them to tears when you remove the patch from their eyes the first day after surgery. Some of these people hadn't seen their friends or families for years and sometimes decades, and they hadn't been able to work. Imagine what an amazing transformation it was, what an empowering event and moment it was in their lives to be able to see again. And what a difference it made for their families and their community. Through cataract surgery, their lives were changed and restored. But my life was changed and restored too. And so were the lives of all the people who were there on site. The people who walked into the operating room, the people who prepared their meals, the people who held their hand when they were by themselves, and the people who made a comfortable bed for them while they stayed overnight and waited for their patches to be removed the next day. But all of those people helped, but people in the United States and elsewhere who donated to Combat Blindness also helped. They contributed to the changes in these people's lives. It's really emotionally overwhelming, really, to realize that you are involved in the transformation of people's lives. And by you, I don't mean me as a surgeon. I mean you who would contribute and become involved with the work of CBI. So think about it. $25 will give one person vision. $100 will give 4 people vision. But we have this $50,000 match today from the Herkman Family Foundation and the Herkman Family, or rather the Herkman Mechanical Industries. So there's a potential for $100,000 in contribution to help people. Now, what could be accomplished if we reach that $100,000 goal? Think about it. Do the math. Math is fun. $100,000 could give 4,000 women, children, and men sight restoring cataract surgery, or it could screen 250,000 children for refractive errors where they need glasses, or if they need correction for cataracts or vision problems. Or it could educate 200 young women to receive an education in the COPS program and have their futures and lives changed forever, and help others to regain their sights for generations to come because of their youth and their new education. Now, tonight, you have the power to empower other lives forever by restoring sight and changing the path of people's lives through education. This work with CBI has certainly changed my life, and it will certainly change yours. So please contribute to help us continue our work, and what then can become your work as well. We are grateful and indebted to all of you who have come to the program tonight. Together, in these very uncertain times, we can bring kindness and hope to the world. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
And thank you all for joining us tonight. As I said, 100% of our proceeds tonight will go to screening patients, providing free cataract surgery and scholarships to young women. You know, and also we have our silent auction tonight, and it is open until tomorrow midnight. So we encourage you to keep bidding. As I said before, at Combat Blindness International, it has always been our goal to serve with compassion and to ensure that all people receive equitable eye care that empowers them. What does that mean? It means that you are helping a father and husband return to work and provide for his family. You are helping a child return to school and have the opportunity to learn. And you are helping a young woman achieve financial freedom through education. You are giving people the opportunity to live their best life. We are so grateful that you could join us tonight. Thank you so much for being here for our first ever Virtual World Sight Day. Be safe, be healthy, and good night.
What excites me about this is that in such a small amount of money and short period of time, you can change somebody's life. It is just amazing to see when you do a cataract surgery and next morning the patient can see.
I support Combat Blindness International because I know that the money raised is going directly to helping those that desperately needed help.
Combat Blindness has literally figured out how to deliver what it does better than anybody I know. The team is amazing and the results are amazing because you're really putting money behind an organization that knows what it's doing through its partners and programs.
There are many things that impress me about Combat Blindness, and one is that with very little in the way of resources, they provide an enormous amount of service to thousands of patients each year around the world.
I would say to anyone just to take a second and think about if you couldn't see right now and you knew that if you had a simple surgery you could see, you would now be able to be independent and continue to work and take care of your family. but the only thing keeping you back was access to a doctor. That's why you should support Combat Blindness, because we all say we want to do the right thing and we would do anything to help someone. And to me, this was a way to actually put that thought into an action.